crazy 14 years, really. I mean, by anyone's standards. It all started in 2004 when I sat down with my friend Tamo, and we wrote a really cool song called Square One on the first day. And back then I had, I don't know, a lot of experience making rock music, but Tamo basically showed me the basics of how electronic music was made on that one day. After that session, he had other commitments, and so I decided to continue on my own, even though I could not sing for shit. So over the next 6 months, I sat down and wrote song after song after song, and I sent them via IRC chat to my friend Rene, who runs the Return of the Living Dead party, which is the biggest gothic and dark electro party in North Germany, maybe in the whole of Germany, I don't know. And Rene would criticize all my songs, like heavily criticize them. But I kept making more songs and slowly got better, and Rene kept criticizing my tracks, and at some point I made the Protagonist, and he thought, yeah, I'll play that next weekend.
Every now and then the world is strange. Time to stop and reevaluate. Broken heart won't equal.
That following weekend, Rene played the Protagonist at his party, and Eric Burton of Heartbeat Propaganda heard it, and he immediately offered me a spot on his advanced electronics sampler right on that night.
And I told him that I would like to use the track for one of the compilations. And so I asked him to send it to me, but as it turned out, Sami was pretty drunk that night. And so actually, I guess he didn't understand what I wanted from him. So I ended up just giving him my business card and telling him, give me a call or send me an email whenever you find this card.
Yeah, I remember thinking, what? What is he talking about? Who's that guy? And back then I didn't know that he was one of the most well-connected people in the scene. And luckily he gave me his business card.
I asked him if he has more than one track, and but it seemed like he had no more songs than just this one. And so I asked him but if you have more material, just please send it to me. And I think maybe that was a little bit of like a kickstart for him to sit down and produce more material. In the mail, I found a CDR, scribbled with adding Faderhead, and took it out, and I remembered that I talked to Sami about it, and it had a couple of more tracks on it, and so I said okay. I rang up Sami, or I think I sent him an email and asked him hey, let's give it a try, and I will send it out to a few labels like Out of Line, Independent, Infected, and also Session Records. And
I went on a vacation back then, and when I came back, I think I had 3 messages with deal offers on my answering machine. Yeah, back then I still had a landline and an answering machine. And in 2005 then, I think, I signed with Accession Records. And Eric gave me the advice to take a lot of time with my songs, because you only write your debut album once. That's what he said, and that was great advice. The first album, FH1, got released in 2006, and all the reviews were pretty good. I mean, the press in Germany called me Newcomer of the Year, and we started playing the first shows. And back then I had a drummer, and I played guitar on stage, which at that time was quite unusual for electro acts. Today, almost everyone has drummers. And after that start, I began believing too much of my own press and of the fan reviews. And I started believing that I'm really talented and good at this. And I also started drinking way too much vodka, way too much. And the new songs I wrote turned out quite good. And the second album, FH2, was written very quickly. Despite the super poppy sound, the song Dirty Girls, Dirty Boys became a huge scene hit, like huge.
Dirty girls, make some noise, move that ass for dirty boys, so obscene, like to see the girls extreme.
Probably because it spoke to a lot of the younger dark electro party crowd, and maybe also because after 7 or 8 years, where mostly future pop acts like Covenant and VNV Nation were dominant, it was time for something different. And I think Dirty Girls, Dirty Boys was very different for that scene.
Now is the time to be there.
After FH2 was released, people started hating me online. Mainly because I wasn't industrial enough and I was trying to destroy the scene, which was on one hand funny and on the other hand, it was something I wasn't used to. I mean, if you get daily messages that you suck, you have to figure out a way to deal with that. You have to. It's not something that happens to most people. Half a year later, I got the first sales statements for FH2 and was super disappointed because the sales were terrible. And like most musicians who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I thought that good press equals good sales. For some reason back then, I thought that sales were like a measure of my worth as a musician, which from today's perspective is like one of the stupidest things I have ever believed. But I mean, that's like believing today that a lot of likes on Instagram make you a good person. And so I was really disappointed and decided to end the Faderhead project, even though half the next album, which was FH3, was already written. A few months later, my friend Marco Ribbe said to me that it would be a shame to not put out FH3. And he offered to finance the production and do the distribution through his Gothic mail order store, which is called Lost Legends. And I thought, well, what can happen other than that I sell nothing? And we decided to start Eltrix Records together, which was basically his and my label. And 6 months later, my third album, FH3, came out, and Tanz 2, 3, 4 became a massive hit, like a massive scene hit.
Tanz 2, 3, 4. Tanz 2, 3, 4. Tanz 2, 3, 4. Tanz 2, 3, 4.
The album sales were better, but still not great. But now I kept 100% of the income under the deal that I had with Marco, so I was much happier about it. And we shot the Tanz 2, 3, 4 video with over 50 people. And it was the first time I fully directed a large video shoot like that. That video became very popular on YouTube immediately. Even though at that time YouTube was like a weird new thing and not many people were using it at all. Also that year, some really important meetings happened. I met the Lord, Marco Visconti, at Summer Darkness in Utrecht, and I decided to not use drums on stage anymore. So Marco became the new main player on keyboards. And I also met Joe and Daniel of Project Sam at the Dark Dance Treffen. In summer 2009, my booking agent called me and said that Deform had to cancel their show at Mera Luna Festival. And the organizers were looking for like a substitution band. So we got booked for the opening slot on the hangar stage. But it was on such short notice that Marco couldn't make it from Italy because we didn't get paid much and the flight costs were horrendous. So I called Joe and Daniel of Project Sam and asked them if they could help me out. And they said, yes.
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. You understand?
Have been with me since then, ever since then. And I've been switching keyboard players a lot in the first 3 years. And at that point, I finally had found my band, which was awesome and something new for me. This started a phase of non-stop gigs, parties, and DJ sets worldwide, plus a new album pretty much every year. In 2011, we played Summer Darkness in Utrecht again, and Marco missed his connecting flight from some faraway place, so he couldn't make it in time. And luckily for me, Jörg from Straftanz was randomly there.
I hitched a ride with Tom from SRTD, was still living down the street, and so I got to Utrecht, got a phone call from Sami. He was like, damn, Marco isn't going to come, something plain, and well, even though I didn't even have a toothbrush with me or whatever, I said, yes, I'm gonna like help, and we managed to turn this whole thing in something like a DJ set, and Sami was singing, and I guess the show, it was saved.
Jörg has been with me ever since then. We toured more and more, and every year I drank more and more because I simply thought it was part of the lifestyle. In 2014, we worked with Boris May of Klangstabil, who produced and directed the video for Fistful of Fuck You. And in that video, I'm a character in a 1990s video game. And that became really popular because it's like a beat-em-up game. And that year I also had a really tough breakup from my fiance and figured that I could not go on like that in the way that I was living. And it was time for like a massive change.
Someone's always living someone else's dream.
So I cut off a lot of my friends and found a therapist to sort out the issues that needed to be sorted out, which, quite frankly, were a lot. And I didn't write any music for at least a year, maybe a year and a half.
I'm standing here all night, watching you dance, and it feels so unreal to me. I wake up reaching out, but no one's here.
In 2016, FHX was released, and I decided to get rid of my sunglasses. I mean, they had served me really well for 10 years, but I didn't feel like I needed to hide behind a lot of alcohol and shades anymore. That year we also went on tour with Covenant and played less heavy, much more melodic songs, which surprised a lot of people, although there were lots of melodic songs on all the albums before, so I don't know what that was about.
I wish we'd escape this planet's gravity and dance among the stars. I wish we'd fall asleep eternally in each other's arms. I wish we'd escape
although the reactions to the Covenant shows were very good, I was not happy with my singing. So I decided to take lessons. And surprise, immediately my voice got noticeably better. So crazy. I think we only played festivals that year, and then the Night Physics album was released. That record included the single Know Your Darkness, which went to #1 on the German alternative charts for 7 weeks in a row and became very popular, even though there was no music video for it. Next year, we went on tour in Germany with Project Pitchfork, which was an amazing tour for us.
You cry so much sometimes. I fear you turn away.
Compared to the tour with Covenant, we played a heavier set and made a lot of new fans, but I still really wasn't happy with how things were going for me in my private life. And if you feel that nothing you are is good enough for yourself, then you only have two choices. You can either give up completely, or you can separate yourself step by step from who you are and try to become someone who you like more. And that's what the Asteria album is about.
How do you overcome the suffering of life?
Asteria came out in 2019, and many fans say it's my best one yet.
I'm with the acid witch. I'm with the acid witch.
If you've been with me for a while, thank you. And if you're a new listener, welcome.